video games are supposed to be interactive experiences. You're supposed to interact with the world and press buttons and make story decisions. But as time has gone on, a lot of development studios have decided no, 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 we need to take that experience away from you because you just don't want to play the game. It's like people want to watch a movie. And now we're finding out that Death Stranding 2 is going to straight up allow players to skip boss fights, and gamers are wrecking them over it. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, you can play a game whatever way you want. If you want to play it on super easy mode, you want to play it on story mode, you just want to get that experience, that's okay. You can do that. But at the end of the day, we are talking about an interactive experience. Therefore, I do not really think that it's right that they are allowing you to straight up skip combat encounters and boss fights and all of these very important parts of the experience. And that is what we're now hearing is happening with Death Stranding 2. But this is kind of becoming a fad within the industry because it used to be you had normal, hard, extreme modes for difficulties, or easy, normal, hard. Then we got to having a story, easy, normal, hard, and then sometimes like a hardcore mode. But now they're even going as far as to allow you to just straight up skip integral parts of the game. This actually just recently happened with South of Midnight as well. So starting with this article about Death Stranding 2, it says fans are not happy about this decision. Released in 2019, Death Stranding is one of Kojima's best works. The game was well received by fans, and after a long anticipation, it was recently announced that Death Stranding 2 would also be released soon. Ever since, fans of the franchise have been excited about each and every update regarding the sequel, and the most recent update was that Death Stranding 2 will give gamers an option to skip a boss fight. Now, of course, the jokes are endless here that this is for journalists, this is a journo mode. It's because there are so many people that work in the industry that don't actually know how to play video games. I mean, some of them can't even get through Cuphead tutorials, never mind actually completing a boss fight. But it says the reason behind that is that modern video games are often criticized as being incredibly tough to the extent that the fun of playing a game gets ruined for many. I totally and completely disagree with this because almost every single game I play now has a story mode or a very easy mode where you don't have to put a lot of brain power into completing it. Sure, there are Souls-likes that exist, but if you're a casual gamer, you're not going to be playing a Souls-like anyway. Therefore, you don't need a difficulty on it. And it says, trying to find a solution for this, Kojima has decided to go for a visual novel approach where players can skip boss fights if they want. I truly believe this is just because Kojima wants to make movies, and that's fine. He can create whatever he wants, but he's in the video game industry right now, okay? Stick to making games. He wants to go to Hollywood after Death Stranding 2, and he wants to make a bunch of movies, so he's kind of like presenting this for his resume. And I genuinely believe that's why he made Death Stranding, was so he could actually work with these Hollywood actors and kind of, make connections with them and say, hey, look, I've worked with Elle Fanning, I've worked with Norman Reedus, I can be a director in this industry too. But while he might think that this is a good idea, a lot of gamers are now just kind of pointing and laughing at this decision. So the next step to make games more accessible will be letting people skip the whole game. Why is everyone watering down their games to cater to people unfit to play them? DS1 boss fights were easy enough already. Hopefully this means they increase the difficulty, and this is kind of a trend in the industry right now because a recently launched game, South of Midnight, did this. Now, of course, we all pointed and laughed because it's a Sweet Baby Inc. and compulsion game, so it seemed like they really wanted to appeal to the modern audience with this title, that they really wanted to get people to play this game based on the fact that it might actually be super easy, and it is more of a story experience. So if you're a journo who doesn't actually play video games, you can get through it really quickly. But as it says, in addition to the standard sorts of difficulties you can select, which include both a story and easy option on the lower end, you can also select the option to be able to completely skip boss fights, regular fights, and chase sequences. This doesn't do away with them. You still enter into combat like normal, but at any time during the fight, you can press a button and just be done with it. Now, this game is laughably easy. It is not difficult at all whatsoever. It is basically a walk story game. And if this is the type of experience some people out there want, that's okay. But again, in my opinion, I think it's pretty ridiculous. We've gotten to the point where we're just straight up skipping boss fights and chase sequences and these important parts of what make a video game a video game. Now, taking a look at the Dexerto thread, there's definitely a lot of people here who are cringing at this. Hey, kids, if you don't actually want to play the game, just watch a streamer and stop ruining games for actual gamers. Do you think you should be able to skip boss fights in a video game? And then they have, votes. And, well, no, and is winning by 48%. Why would anyone want to skip the boss fight? It's better to not buy the game at all. Thanks. I always wanted to not play the game. Time to speedrun the game. Toddlers play. Yeah, this is also going to raise the question of, for speedrunners, can they just skip the boss fight? I mean, I'd assume that they can. I believe in real speedrunning where you actually have to play the game instead of glitch it and skip everything, but it is what it is. Wouldn't it be better to watch a streamer if you want to skip the boss fights? That is another reason why I stream. I primarily stream games so that, if I've talked about it, I can fairly critique it, but also there are plenty of times where there are people just saying, I just wanted to see the experience. I didn't want to play it myself. A lot of the time when I'm playing Souls-likes, there's people like, wow, I've always wanted to experience this, but I'm just not very good at games, but I feel like I've gotten the experience and the excitement from watching, which is really cool. And again, I'm not saying that this option is the worst option that they could add to video games, but when we are living in a time where people do not trust video game reviewers, and some of them can't even get through tutorials for games like Cuphead, or they get into games like Metroid Dread and they don't realize that they can shoot vertically, and then they get stuck in an area for 20 to 25 minutes, even though you were once a, industry developer, you were a veteran. It's pretty embarrassing, and it makes you wonder what else they're going to do to be able to appeal to people who really just don't want to play video games. Then why is it a video game? I always wanted to not play a game. Wow, mind-blowing tech. It is very sad almost to see this happen, because ultimately we're seeing video games be watered down even more to movie-like experiences. And I don't want that. I want games to go in the opposite direction. I want their combat to get more difficult. I want them to have more puzzles. I want them to, take more brain power to play, and that's not what's happening. They're turning it into like baby's first video game experience in a lot of cases. So we'll have to see if the reception to this, once the game finally comes out, if it's positive or not. Maybe everybody will end up loving this, and maybe there will actually be tons of people who are brought into this game because of this option. But it just seems like they're starting to make games, or continuing, I suppose, to make games where they're not really making them for video gamers, but they're making them for average moviegoers. And that has, from what I know, never sold copies of video games, and they're taking the interaction out of an interactive experience. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.